Can I ask too about and I think I've been to one DIY show in my entire life.
Sir?
Yeah, seriously. Like I went to one. A buddy of mine was like, "Oh, let's go see this like noodly emo band at this
Noodly.
punks show." He always spelled punks with an X, and I was like, "Oh yeah, sounds cool." And it was
Gross.
like one of the first times I got to Chicago. Like went to see like something like that, and I've always just been like, A, how does this work? And B, who is letting people into their house? And that may just be like my own anxiety of like letting anybody into the place where I live is like, no, I don't want that. But like how, because you mentioned you've done like a couple DIY shows where you're like, can we do it in your living room? How do you find these? How do you find these spaces? How do you book these spaces? How do these people let it happen? How does like the city of Chicago or any city let it happen? Like how?
Okay. So first, the very first time, I obviously was like, Dad, please just trust me. Dad was like, for sure, girl. Like, you do your shit. Just make sure nothing gets broken. I have a fantastic father. Like, he is just like hands down. He's like, he hates the fact that I work in music, but he loves the fact that like at least I'm having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like I mean, we have had shows. I've had shows in most of the apartments I've lived in.
Jeez.
Most of them acoustic, but like
Mhm.
I used to live with two band members who their friends would be in town and their shows would drop. So they'd be like, yeah, just host it in our living room. And I was like, fuck you guys. I'm a promoter. Why didn't you just tell me? I could have a venue.
Mhm.
And they would be like, too late, flyers up, show in our living room. And I was like, fuck you. This is so difficult. So, anyways, there's that. But a lot of these times it's just like emailing these spots or texting these spots and going like, hey, my friend so and so said I should reach out. I'm Nina. This is what I do. This is I think Out of Context is in a very unique place. Like we were a production company, but we were very community based.
Mhm.
So I always had that as a selling point. I'm always like my all female team. Like we do this. Here's pictures. I would also always go, if you want to call this person from this venue to like ask about, I would always drop a reference if it was a new spot.
Mhm.
Be like, they can tell you that I'm great. So but like DIY spots would be like, most DIY spots are always like, yeah, sure. And then that's where they would be super surprised. I would come in, everything would go perfect. They could do nothing but sit there and drink a beer. Like, people inside town were like completely impressed by the fact that we run shows. Like we are not just hosting a show. Like that's what we do. So that's like how we stick with our spaces is like we don't come in the first time and fuck around. We come in strong. We have our system down. I mean, but like that's where it's like I would always rather book at a venue like Sub T or Cobra because I don't have to do those things. I could be the only one for my team who shows up. If I do a DIY event, it's all hands on deck. I would normally have to hire. I'd try and have 6 people there, like 2 for the door, 1 for the stage, 1 for the bar, 1 for the sound, then me. And typically that would like so that would be 6 all females. They're running every part of the event, no questions asked. And that's where DIY spaces were like, who are you? Yeah, I just think we had a good rep everywhere.
So like I mean, obviously there's something cool about doing a DIY show too. Like the fact that you are doing it in a living room or a dining, I don't know where you do it. I've been to one, but
we do DIY shows, like those were like special events. Like the bands that I would book, there used to be a DIY space called Campus. Like the only bands I ever booked there were my homies. Home Safe, Keep Flying, Belmont, Kayak Jones. Like we only booked the homies at Campus. Young Culture has played there. Andy's are like the homies. And it would be because we would know the DIY spot was special. Like I had Corbin from a band called Rarity. He has a solo project and he was on tour with Rare Candy. And I was like, look, guys, we can do this at a venue. will have $200 in costs, or we can do this in my living room. And I'm like, I'm comfortable putting my address out there because most people won't even realize it's my address.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, let's just do it in my living room. And the shows would always run fine. So they like, it would be like, I would not just throw any random show in my living room. Or like,
Gotcha.
I would not go through the extra effort of having a 6-person staff available on a Monday night unless the band was a band I fully believed in, or a band who like, I mean, most of my friends' bands, like, I listen to them. Like, I believe in their music. I'm not just booking Rarity because it looks good on my resume.
Mm-hmm.
I'm booking Rarity because I love Rarity. So shit like that. It was just like, I don't remember oh yeah, how do I like hold these spots? I don't remember the original question.
Yeah, like, so if you're trying to get somebody, if you're trying to do a DIY show and you need a space,
promoter.
As I guess either, like, I
Well,
mean,
like, promoter, like I obviously have my contact list of like which like I mean I have like a hierarchy of these are the venues I'm hitting up first, these are the venues I'm hitting up last.
okay.
So I would have to like sit there and decide which, like I did over 20 venues as my time as a promoter.
Okay.
So a band would email me and like, let's go like, was the band Camino or was the band Rarity? Like those bands belong in different spaces, different size rooms. And like that would kind of like, that's always the first step. But then two, it's like, what if the venue's just not available? Then we have to scour our other options. And we used to do a space called Treehouse Records, which is a recording studio. Lizzie, have you been to any of my shows there?
Not there. I know I've been to a couple like events there, just like networking events, so I'm aware.
Yeah, we've done shows there. In that room. And it was the guy normally doesn't do shows there. He hates doing shows there. He thinks they sound bad. But he, like I said, the first time we came in, like show ran smoothly, everything worked. So we only hosted because I know it's like the space is not made for shows. We only hosted the shows that I knew would be great in that room. Because it wasn't the traditional concert space.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like I said, it's only the homies. Like Fangs at Treehouse Records rocked. Like, I wouldn't want to book another band that I wasn't homies with. Like that's a lot of work. That is so much. It's like people always hit me up last minute, being like, "Can't you just put something DIY together?" And I'm like, "You don't understand how much more work it is to book a DIY show instead of a venue show."
Yeah.
People did not like friends and like anyone would be like, "Can you just put something together last minute?" And I'm like, "Yes, but if I'm putting it together last minute, it's going to be at a venue, not at my house." I'm like, there's so much less work.
Yeah, no, I totally get that 100%.
Yeah. The main reason behind it is I just wanted to book gigs. I would do anything I could to book a show. If it meant reaching out to a stranger on the internet to see if I could put a show in their house. Like one of my best shows, Township closed, and I needed to rebook a Beach Bunny show that had like 100 tickets sold. And so I hit up this house venue called Soup Shop. I was like, "Yo, guys, I know I did that show with you back in November. Could we move this Beach Bunny gig?" And they were like, "Hell fucking yes." I would do anything to make sure gigs happened.
Okay.